everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is my glamorous assistant, Joli. She's the brains behind all of this. And in today's video, we're going to be taking you through everything you need to know about bird of paradise plants, the do's, the don'ts, and how to keep them happy and healthy. Before we get started, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and feel free to subscribe to be kept up to date with any future videos me and Joli make. So back when my shop was open, I used to stock these plants all the time, but for some reason just never kept one for myself. I was down in Exeter last week and stumbled across this one and just completely fell in love with her. Haven't been able to stop staring at her since. So yeah, I thought I'd make a little care video on her today, partly because I was just looking for an excuse to show her off. She's so beautiful. So bird of paradise are native to South Africa and they're often referred to as banana trees just because their leaves look so similar. In their natural habitat, they're capable of growing up to 20 feet tall, which is huge. But as houseplants, they tend not to grow above about 8 feet. When it comes to light, these plants do enjoy some direct sunlight, but on the whole, primarily as houseplants, they're going to do best in what's known as bright indirect light. Bright indirect light basically just means an area that receives lots of bright natural light, but not too much direct sun. So you might say they enjoy partial sunlight. They enjoy about 3 to 4 hours a day of direct sun. Any more than that can actually scorch their leaves and cause them to burn over time. So next to an east-facing window or a few meters back from a south-facing window. A south-facing window. Oh my God, south-facing window, south-facing window, south-facing window. I used to grow the bird of paradise plants for my shop under grow lights just because my house had quite a lot of areas that didn't receive much natural light and they coped really well with this, so that is also an option. In order to make sure they're able to absorb all of the light you're giving them, regularly dusting and wiping down their leaves is really, really important. Dust and dirt can build up really quickly when they're kept indoors, and if it's not dealt with, it's pretty much the same as keeping your plants in a low light area, which they really won't enjoy, and it also makes them much more prone to pests. If you do keep your bird of paradise in a lower light spot, chances are you're going to notice its growth slow right down, and also it's probably going to look a lot more stretched and leggy as opposed to healthy, full and bushy. The other important thing that you should do for full and even growth is to rotate your plant every few weeks or so, just so that it can absorb even amounts of light from all angles. As the plant matures, you'll often notice splits starting to form in the leaves. This is totally normal and nothing to worry about. It actually occurs to allow more light to reach the leaves at the bottom. It's just nature doing its thing. With watering, I've said this before in lots of my other videos, but I would always recommend just monitoring the soil instead of sticking to a strict watering schedule, just because scheduling your watering can often lead to issues. This is simply because the environment of everybody's homes is slightly different, and so the amount of water you give your plant is going to slightly vary depending on that, and also it's going to vary depending on the time of year. These plants like the top layer of their soil to dry out slightly in between waterings, so that's a really easy way to tell. Obviously in the warmer summer months that's going to happen slightly quicker, so they'll usually require more water over this period. Drainage is also key. If they're not able to properly drain after each time you water them, then the roots are going to end up sat in water, soggy soil, and that can lead to things such as root rot, which can actually kill your plants. When you water your plants, I'd advise taking your plant in its nursery pot and just thoroughly soaking it through until water pours out at the bottom, then leaving it for a while so it has time to properly drain, and then when it's not dripping anymore, when it's absorbed all the water it needs, then going ahead and putting it back into its pretty pot, basket, whatever you've got it in. I'll usually wait until the top 2 inches of soil have had time to completely dry out before I re-water her, just to make sure I don't give her too much. I've said it before as well, but some plants, such as these ones, depending on where you live, can actually be quite sensitive to the chemicals and minerals found in tap water. You can eliminate this risk by using things like filtered water, distilled water, even rainwater, just to make sure that they're kept happy and healthy. During the growing season, which tends to be the spring and summer months, fertilising your bird of paradise regularly helps to encourage and support new growth, basically just by upping its nutrient content when it needs it most. I know a lot of people get away with not fertilising. I personally see this like running a race on an empty stomach. Like, even if your plant continues to grow, it's probably not reaching its full potential. I'll use a natural diluted fertiliser every few weeks or every other time I water during growing season. You have just got to be quite careful not to overdo it, because although these ones are quite heavy feeders, giving them too much fertiliser can actually lead to something called fertiliser burn. If you've never fertilised before, I would advise easing your plants into it quite gently. For example, if the bottle says to add half a cup to water, then I would advise maybe starting with a quarter cup and gradually building it up over time. If you think you might have over-fertilised, there's a couple of options. You can either wait until the next time you come to water and then give the soil a really, really good rinse out, flush through with pure unfertilised water, or depending on how badly you think you might have overdone it, you can also repot your plants using fresh soil. There are lots of natural fertilising methods that you can use as well. I made a video a little while ago about how you can make your own plant fertiliser, so I'll link that in the description box below. During the colder winter months, I would personally advise laying off the fertiliser, just because outside of growing season, your plants don't need any extra nutrients and it can actually end up doing them a lot more harm than good. These ones absolutely love humidity. They're tropical plants and will always do better with higher humidity levels as opposed to lower. Not enough humidity can lead to things such as browning edges and crispy leaves that are more prone to damage, whereas higher humidity levels will allow the leaves to stay conditioned and happy. A really common issue with these plants is that you'll notice their leaves start to curl, which is so often caused by lack of humidity. As houseplants, it's recommended that they receive no less than 50% humidity, but as I say, they will always appreciate more. Using a humidifier is the easiest and most obvious way to raise the humidity levels in your house, but there are also some cheaper options, such as leaving pots of hot water out and about, you know what I mean, leaving them out around your plants, and also using pebble trays. Misting is often thought to be a replacement for having a humidifier, and it's really not. Yes, misting your plants can temporarily raise the humidity levels, but unless you're going to be doing it literally all the time, it's not going to make a massive difference when it comes to humidity. There are, however, loads of other great benefits of misting, such as helping to keep the leaves clean and conditioned, and also helping to ward off pests. When it comes to temperature, these ones are fairly adaptable. It's generally recommended that you keep them between 18 and 24 degrees Celsius, but they can absolutely tolerate lower temperature drops at night. The one thing they absolutely hate is cold drafts and constant fluctuations in temperature. So this means don't put your bird of paradise next to an air vent or a drafty door, as they will most likely throw a tantrum very quickly. Most houseplants prefer a steady temperature, which basically just means it doesn't fluctuate too much. So keeping the conditions of your home as stable as possible is a good idea. One of the main things these plants are known for is the beautiful bird-shaped flowers they produce. I'll pop some pictures there. A lot of you are probably wondering how you can get your bird of paradise to flower. There are a few things to take into consideration. Besides making sure that its conditions are just right, a key factor is the maturity of the plant. Usually a bird of paradise won't bloom until it's at least 4 years old. So if you've got a little one and you're expecting it to produce flowers, sorry, that's not going to happen. As I say, the conditions you keep it in are so important, and lighting is key if you want your plant to bloom. A lot of the time, the main reason bird of paradise plants don't bloom inside is because they're not getting enough light. Hence why if you grow them outdoors as opposed to indoors, they're a lot more likely to flower. The same goes for fertilizing. If it's not receiving enough nutrients, then it probably won't flower either. Another important thing to remember, which is just kind of a general note as well for these plants, is that they actually quite like being root bound. This means that they won't necessarily need repotting very often and actually really like their roots to be quite compact in the pot. Transferring them to a bigger pot too soon can send them into shock, it can stunt their growth, and it can discourage them from flowering. I've made a couple of top tips videos for faster and fuller growth in houseplants. There's a lot in there that can be applied to this plant, so if you're looking for some more tips and tricks for your bird of paradise, then feel free to check them out. I really hope this video was useful. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to drop me a comment down below and I will do my best to help. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.